Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to another edition of NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel. Got a lot of questions here from spring.me/Aaron Rift. So let's get started here with the first one today from Deadman299. Do you see Big E Langston as a future main eventer since WWE is pushing him that hard? Big E Langston definitely seems to have a lot of potential going into 2014. As you mentioned, WWE has been pushing him strongly. He's the current IC champion. The thing he has going for him, number one, is obviously his size. He's a big guy. He's jacked up. He has that bodybuilder look that WWE likes. The other thing is he's also close friends with John Cena, so he also has the backstage influence to help him out. I think that Big E is good as a babyface. He did well for himself in NXT as a babyface. He came in, he was a heel with Dolph Ziggler, and it wasn't until he made the babyface turn that he started to build some momentum. So I think that he definitely has a lot of potential to be a major force in WWE. I don't know if he's going to be a main eventer. There's nothing at this point to suggest that it will be a John Cena level main eventer, but maybe one day he will be up there among the top superstars in WWE. All right, this one comes from SM11211. Which current mid-card wrestler do you think has the potential to be a main eventer in 2014? There's several people that WWE is very high on right now, Big E Langston being one of them, as I just talked about. The other guy that I think WWE is really going to focus on strongly in 2014 is Roman Reigns. And I've talked about this in previous videos. Of the three members of the Shield, he is the guy that WWE is the highest on. He has the look. He has the ability for the most part. He's still, somewhat of a rookie, but as time goes on, he continues to improve, and he's a guy that has wrestling in his blood. He's got the Samoan heritage. I think that WWE is going to do everything in their power to make him the closest thing to John Cena as possible in terms of being a guy that can perhaps carry the company. Also, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, I think, will be pushed very strong in 2014, and certainly they both have potential to be main eventers as well. All right, this one comes from MVTVR20. Hey Aaron, is there any chance if John Cena faced Undertaker at WrestleMania, he would end the streak, or will Taker retire 22-0? Please answer in video. Greetings, Marshall from Iowa. I think that it's highly unlikely John Cena would end the Undertaker streak. I think that would be a huge mistake. I think that you would see a lot of backlash from fans, and I just don't think WWE is going to end the Undertaker streak, period, and certainly not have it end to an established WWE wrestler. But John Cena versus The Undertaker, it's something that WWE hasn't done at WrestleMania, and it's something fans have been wanting to see for a long time because Undertaker is pretty much unstoppable. Well, he is unstoppable at WrestleMania, and John Cena is the guy that has the reputation for being unstoppable, being the Superman and all that. So when you put those two forces against each other, as Gorilla Monsoon once said, it's the irresistible force meeting the immovable object. And I think it's only a matter of time before we see that match finally happen at WrestleMania. All right, this one comes from Sticky B. Hey Aaron, do you see the 40-man Rumble returning for WrestleMania 30? I think you mean the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, or maybe a 50-man Rumble. Okay, the 40-man Rumble was overkill. It was just too much. I think that a 30-man Rumble with the 2-minute intervals is ideal. I think that is the best format for the Royal Rumble. 40 men was just too much. And 50 men, are you serious? Are you sure you're not Vince Russo sending me a question here? 50 men in the Royal Rumble would be ridiculous. I mean, that's teetering on World War III 60-man battle royal. It's just too much. A lesson should be learned. Going back to WCW with those 3-ring battle royals, it was just too many people in one match, too much action to call. And it would just go on for too long. I mean, the Royal Rumble match with 30 guys as it is goes on for about an hour, and if it's not broken, don't fix it. And I think they did the whole 40-man Rumble as a gimmick to try to increase the pay-per-view buy rate, but it was not a good idea in my opinion. All right, this one comes from Anti-PG Fan. When Stone Cold Steve Austin returned in 2000, do you think The Rock was more over than he was at the time? And if Stone Cold was never gone for a year, do you think The Rock would have been as big of a deal as he was? When Steve Austin came back from his injury, he was just as popular as he always was. I think that there was some concern that he would lose popularity, but he came back and he was still over with the fans. And I noticed that, during the fall of 2000, when they were teasing Austin versus Rock for the first time before WrestleMania, The Rock would more times than not get booed. It wasn't 50-50. I think that Austin definitely had the favor in terms of fan reactions. I think that The Rock being a top star in 2000, I mean, if it was 1998 and Steve Austin got hurt, it would have been a huge blow to WWE. But by the time Austin got hurt at the end of 1999 and was gone for a year, the WWE had been red hot, and The Rock was already established as a top star at the same level as Steve Austin. So it really didn't matter that Austin was gone. The Rock was, hot enough to carry the company on his own, and WWE was doing tremendous business when Austin was gone in 2000. I mean, it was perhaps their best year ever in terms of financial success. So, Steve Austin was a huge part of WWE's turnaround in the late 90s, but certainly The Rock helps sustain it. All right, this one comes from Kayfabe Candy S. Call it now. Do you think Christ Jericho, I think you mean Chris Jericho, or maybe you're just trolling, will appear at the 2014 Royal Rumble and have an angle for WrestleMania 30? I think that it's unlikely at this point. I think that it's too predictable, actually, and I think Chris Jericho wants to come back when people are not expecting it. And since he came back in 2013 at the Royal Rumble, been there, done that. I think that he's not going to do the same angle twice and come back as a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble. But, anything can happen. Maybe if Chris Jericho feels that people feel he's not going to be there, then he'll show up. But I think in all likelihood he will come back at a different time. That's just my opinion on that. All right, this one comes from K2 87. Hi, Aaron. Just watched Chris Jericho's debut. Interrupting The Rock. I remember they had the Millennium Clock going on for weeks or months before his debut. How long in advance do you think that they decided he was going to interrupt The Rock? Well, according to Chris Jericho in his book, the Millennium Clock thing was planned out well in advance. Right from when he first signed with WWE, they had this idea to build him up for several weeks before he debuted. And according to Jericho, it was actually Vince's idea to have him interrupt The Rock. So, I mean, that was a great idea. I mean, that was one of the greatest debuts in wrestling history. And Chris Jericho came out there, and in one moment, he was a huge superstar at the same level as The Rock. I mean, WWE in one segment made Chris Jericho a bigger star than WCW did during his entire run. That goes to show you, how wrestling used to be when things were planned out in advance rather than, booking week to week and changing plans on a weekly basis. So, that should be a perfect example of how wrestling is done right. You build up guys and you write these storylines in advance and give them a chance to breathe and, let them play out. All right, that'll do it for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Make sure you continue voting in the NoDQ.com year-end awards. You still have a few more days left to vote, so go ahead to NoDQ.com and cast your votes now. Before I go here, I got one final question from ClarkyBoy123. Would you personally be annoyed if WWE held a pay-per-view in the UK because of the time difference? For me personally, I don't care if they did that. If WWE held a pay-per-view at 1 o'clock Pacific time, I would be fine with that. I would watch at that time. But the thing is, wrestling fans are creatures of habit. Whenever WWE has changed time slots in the past, usually it has a negative effect on television ratings. And if they were to hold a pay-per-view event at a different time, it could very well have a negative effect on the pay-per-view buy rate because fans are in a habit of watching at a certain time. And pay-per-views have always been at the same time, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. That's how it's been for decades now. And I just don't see WWE changing it because they're doing something in the UK. And that's a major reason why WWE hasn't been doing pay-per-views in the UK, in addition to the whole situation with spoilers getting leaked out on the internet.